Jamal Bryant, let's be honest. That dress was inappropriate and your response was inappropriate. I don't care what nobody say, but that man is not a pastor. He is an entertainer and a mass manipulator.
The dress was not see-through. The dress was flesh color. But because you ain't never been nowhere and ain't never been exposed to nothing.
The Bible said, do not put your trust in men. It's pretty specific. Why? Well, because everybody can be compromised except you.
Pastor Jamal Bryant's wife just set the internet on fire again. Her tight flesh-tone dress and the rumored BBL have everyone talking. But this time, the conversation hit a new level. Social media exploded after Katt Williams' old clip resurfaced, where he warned, "Don't trust no man of God." Now, people are connecting his words to this exact situation. Because it's not just about a dress, it's about image, ego, and the blurred line between faith and fame. In a culture where pastors preach humility but flaunt luxury, the hypocrisy is hard to ignore. And with Jamal Bryant's reputation already shaky, Katt's words hit like a sermon of truth. God didn't give you that.
Now, they didn't say anything about the $4 million that was raised for the United Negro College Fund. They never mentioned that she prayed until heaven came down. They never said anything about this was the largest fundraiser for for HBCUs in the country. But insecure, jealous, petty, small wine.
So before we go any further, we have to rewind and really talk about who Pastor Jamal Bryant is and why controversy always seems to trail behind his name. Before we even touch the BBL chatter or what Katt Williams said, context matters. Jamal Bryant is one of those high-visibility megachurch pastors who blends faith with celebrity culture. He's media-savvy, flashy, and constantly in front of cameras. If he's not posting sermons or commentary online, he's photographed at major fundraising events, political gatherings, or mingling with celebrities. Since December 2018, he served as a senior pastor of Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Stonecrest, Georgia, one of the most recognizable Black megachurches in the country. Bryant has built a brand that goes far beyond the pulpit, which is exactly why his name sparks conversation every time it trends. But New Birth also comes with a heavy and complicated history, and that's where the controversy really starts to make sense. Back in September 2010, the church was rocked by serious allegations involving its former senior pastor, Eddie Long. At the time, 4 young men filed separate lawsuits alleging that Long attempted to coerce them into inappropriate relationships. According to those lawsuits, he allegedly used gifts, money, cars, and even overseas trips as leverage. While those cases were later settled and no criminal conviction followed, the damage to the church's reputation was lasting. That history still looms large over New Birth, and anyone who steps into leadership there inherits that shadow, whether they like it or not. So when Jamal Bryant's name gets pulled into new controversies, critics aren't just reacting to him personally, they're reacting to a pattern tied to power, influence, and a church with a complicated past.
There are now 4 people who have come out to say Bishop Eddie Long abused them inappropriately when they were minors in the church, on trips. I mean, a whole litany of really descriptive, horrible details have come out. And of course, we know Bishop Long has said he is not stepping down. He's going to fight the allegation.
Now, those lawsuits were eventually privately settled out of court for undisclosed amounts. And just like that, the story was quietly pushed out of the headlines. No trial, no public resolution, just silence. But that settlement didn't erase the stain on New Birth's reputation, and it definitely wasn't the last controversy tied to the church or its leadership. Fast forward to 2022, and Jamal Bryant found himself back in the hot seat, this time because of his own words. During an appearance on the Cool Soror podcast, Bryant openly talked about wanting to create what he called a new gospel for adults. He framed it as an effort to modernize the church and reach people who feel disconnected from traditional religion. But what really made jaws drop was his suggestion that the church could grow marijuana on its land as part of an outreach strategy to attract younger generations. According to Bryant, the idea was about economic empowerment, meeting people where they are and rethinking how churches engage culture. But to many critics, it sounded less like innovation and more like desperation mixed with controversy. The backlash was immediate. Church members, religious leaders, and the public questioned whether a pastor should even be floating ideas like that from the pulpit, especially given New Birth's already complicated history. Instead of being seen as progressive, Bryant was accused of chasing attention and blurring the line between ministry and spectacle. And once again, his name became a lightning rod for debate, reinforcing the pattern that seems to follow him everywhere he goes.
I'm looking for people that smell like weeds. No, really, New Birth is the largest land-owning black church in America. Wow. And so my position to my deacons is, why aren't we not raising cannabis? I'll be able to bring in black males. They're able to do it legally. I'm teaching them farming.
Oh, my God.
I'm helping them to enhance the ecosystem. So if the guy, black boy in Bankhead said, they growing weed at the church, where do I join?
Yes.
I don't need no pamphlet.
But y'all, people were not feeling that at all. The backlash was loud and immediate. Comment sections went straight for Pastor Jamal, accusing him of not trying to save souls, but instead chasing dollar signs. A lot of folks felt like the whole marijuana idea wasn't about ministry or outreach at all. It was about profit. And honestly, many critics said the way Jamal talks sometimes sounds less like preaching and more like he's mocking the word of God while hiding behind innovation. On top of that, people can't separate this controversy from his very public personal history. Jamal Bryant's private life has played out just as messily as any Hollywood celebrities, especially his marriage to Giselle Bryant from The Real Housewives of Potomac. That breakup wasn't quiet or dignified. It was a full-blown public storyline filled with cheating allegations that made a lot of people question how his personal behavior lined up with the man of God image he presents. And let's be clear, the cheating wasn't gossip. Jamal himself admitted that his marriage to Giselle ended because he was unfaithful. That's why people side-eye him now, because every time he talks about healing, critics point out that the focus always seems to be on his growth, not the people he hurt along the way. It's the same pattern people say they see over and over again. After that divorce, Jamal didn't stay single long. He eventually married Dr. Kari Turner Bryant, which already had people watching closely given how the last chapter ended. So when the recent dress controversy popped up, nobody viewed it in isolation. It landed on top of years of unresolved skepticism. The BBL rumors really took off after a December 2025 gala where Dr. Kari stepped out in a tight, flesh-toned, form-fitting gown with a bold pattern that drew attention straight to her lower body. Social media exploded, calling the dress inappropriate for a first lady of a megachurch. Gossip forums went even further, speculating about cosmetic surgery, and the comments were ruthless. One post called Jamal and his wife frauds, while others dragged the church itself, warning people about false prophets. Instead of backing down, Jamal clapped back hard, defending his wife and saying critics were just insecure and jealous. He even bragged that he picked out and paid for the dress himself, which only added more fuel to an already raging fire.
Insecure, jealous, petty, small-minded people got in their feelings and set up a false barometer of holiness based off of a dress. Now you got to help some people because some people have embraced the full knowledge of ignorance without any assistance for understanding. The dress was not see-through. The dress was flesh color. But because you ain't never been nowhere and ain't never been exposed to nothing, I needed to set the record straight. Y'all don't like this. I need to set the record straight. I bought the dress and I like it. I don't care whether you like it or not. She ain't married to y'all. She married to me.
But honestly, that whole speech just poured gasoline on the fire. Instead of calming things down, it made people even more convinced that Pastor Jamal wasn't moving with humility or discernment. The comments went from side-eye to full-on dragging him. Folks were saying this response proved exactly what they already believed, that he's more focused on image, ego, and clout than actually serving God. One comment that went viral pointed out what they called biblical irony, saying, "Notice Jamal said the dress isn't see-through, it's flesh-colored. So what does that tell you? He's idolizing the flesh." Another added that instead of shutting down the controversy, Jamal's bragging about choosing the dress felt prideful, like he was doubling down instead of reflecting. To many people, it came off less like a pastor defending his wife and more like a celebrity flexing for applause. That's when another clip started circulating heavily again. Katt Williams' viral commentary about not trusting men, only trusting God. People reposted it with captions saying, "You don't need an intermediary to talk to God, especially not one acting like a megachurch celebrity." The message was clear. For a lot of folks, Jamal represents everything they're growing tired of when it comes to modern megachurch culture. Instead of seeing a pastor leading with humility, they see performance. Instead of spiritual accountability, they see ego. And that's why this controversy hit such a nerve. It wasn't just about a dress. It became a symbol of everything people feel is broken, blurred, and commercialized in the pulpit right now.
So, I don't wonder why stuff gets moved out of my way, because I asked for things to be moved out of my way. Like you asked earlier, like, aren't you scared? Like, I'm not allowed to be scared because I'm not counting on me. Like, you can't fuck me up because you're not allowed to fuck me up. And I've been in enough situations to know that he ain't let me down yet. Like, every time I needed his safety, it was there.
Yeah.
And will be. And the more times you communicate, the better the relationship is.
And again, this conversation isn't just about Jamal Bryant. He's simply the latest example in a much bigger cultural moment that's been building for a while now. If you've been scrolling lately, you've probably seen that Drusky megachurch skit that went viral, the one that had a lot of pastors feeling very personally attacked. And what's funny is Drusky didn't invent anything new. He didn't exaggerate. He didn't create a fantasy. He literally mirrored what people have been watching in real life for years. The designer suits, the luxury cars, the over-the-top lifestyles, the endless seed-sowing speeches, the constant push for more money under the banner of blessings. That's not satire pulled out of thin air. That's lived experience for a lot of folks who grew up in or attended megachurches. So when Drusky held up that mirror, it clearly struck a nerve, because the joke only works when there's truth behind it. And that's exactly why this Jamal Bryant situation is resonating the way it is. His reaction to the criticism didn't feel calm, reflective, or pastoral. It felt defensive. Calling people jealous and insecure because they questioned the appropriateness of his wife's dress didn't shut the conversation down, it amplified it. Because when leaders respond that emotionally, it signals that the comments landed somewhere deep. And let's be real, people aren't actually obsessed with a dress or speculating about a BBL. That's surface-level noise. What people are really reacting to is a pattern they've been noticing for years. Pastors preaching modesty, humility, and sacrifice, while living lifestyles that look indistinguishable from celebrities and influencers. Leaders talking about spiritual warfare while flexing material excess. Churches that feel less like houses of worship and more like branding machines. The way Jamal reacted didn't come across as righteous anger or holy conviction. It looked unsettled, almost like fear. Fear that once people start looking closely, the image might crack. Because when your ministry is deeply intertwined with status, aesthetics, and money, scrutiny becomes dangerous. The moment people stop admiring and start questioning, the whole structure gets shaky. That's why this isn't just a dress controversy. It's a symptom of people waking up to how megachurch culture operates. The expensive galas, the curated social media presence, the celebrity connections, the constant need to be seen and admired. All of it costs money. And when faith starts looking like a revenue stream instead of a calling, people notice, they feel it, and eventually they push back. For a long time, questioning pastors was framed as rebellion, jealousy, or lack of faith. But that narrative doesn't work anymore. People are asking real questions now. Where does the money go? Why does the leadership lifestyle look so disconnected from the message? Why is criticism met with defensiveness instead of accountability? And why does calling out excess feel more threatening than calling out actual harm? So when Jamal snapped back instead of stepping back, it told people everything they needed to know. Not because he defended his wife, but because of how he did it. The tone, the pride, the dismissal. It didn't feel like a shepherd protecting his flock. It felt like a brand protecting its image. At the end of the day, this moment isn't about dragging one pastor. It's about a growing discomfort with megachurch culture as a whole. People are tired of sermons that sound like motivational speeches and leaders who look more like celebrities than servants. They're tired of being told to give more while watching pastors live lavishly, and they're tired of being gaslit when they point it out. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think the dress was genuinely inappropriate, or did the reaction reveal something deeper? And how do you feel about megachurch pastors who seem more invested in fame, money, and influence than actually preaching the Word of God? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next video.